So the day before Mark Carney walked into the NATO Summit in Ankara, he made a phone call to Berlin that changed the entire conversation. Canada had just selected Germany's TKMS as the preferred supplier for up to 12 new submarines, the largest military procurement in Canadian history. And Carney wasn't treating it as another equipment announcement, no. He was carrying it into NATO as proof that Canada was ready to act.
Think about what that means at a NATO summit. Every other leader arrives with pledges and commitments. Carney arrived having chosen a German-Norwegian defense partnership. With Canada already inside Europe's $150 billion safe financing initiative as its first non-European participant. He wasn't arriving empty-handed. He had already put real money and a generational military relationship on the table.
And not one American company was in that room. So let's walk through exactly what was announced, why Carney timed it the way he did, and what it means for Canada's position in the world.
Okay, here's what's been announced. Canada has selected Germany's TKMS as the preferred supplier for up to 12 new submarines. The chosen model is the 212CD, a German-Norwegian design built for cold northern waters and NATO operations. It's a next-generation submarine. It's still being constructed. It's purpose-built for exactly the environment Canada needs to operate in.
Now, the plan here is for Canada to join a shared program alongside Germany and Norway. 3 countries, same class of submarine, same training, same maintenance doctrine. Canada isn't just buying hardware here. It's buying into a partnership where all 3 nations operate, upgrade, and develop this fleet together for decades. And if Canada purchases all 12, well, it becomes the single largest operator of this submarine class in the world.
Germany and Norway actually moved their own production positions to let Canada receive its first 4 submarines by 2034, 2 years earlier than originally offered. For 2 countries managing their own significant defense commitments, that is a real diplomatic gesture, and it tells you how seriously Europe is taking this relationship with Canada.
Now, the final price hasn't been released publicly, and that is deliberate. You don't announce your budget before negotiations close, but public estimates put the submarines themselves at a minimum of $20 billion. Lifetime costs, maintenance, infrastructure, personnel, upgrades, potentially reach $100 billion over the life of the program. Wow.
Now, here's what we have to remember here. Canada had 2 finalists, Germany's TKMS and South Korea's Hanwha Ocean. Both companies met the Royal Canadian Navy's operational requirements. Both submitted credible bids. But the real choice wasn't about the submarine specifications at all.
No. Hanwha offered Canada a relationship with the Indo-Pacific defense industry, a foot inside South Korea's military-industrial world, and a connection to that whole region. TKMS offered something completely different, a seat inside an established European military partnership and deep integration with the NATO supply chain. 2 different submarines, 2 different futures.
Prime Minister Carney chose Europe. He chose Germany, and that choice tells you where Canada's foreign policy is heading for the next generation. Canada is deliberately tying more of its security and industrial future to the European alliance.
And the competition, it actually just made the deal better. South Korea's aggressive bid forced TKMS, Berlin, and Oslo to offer faster deliveries, more Canadian investment, and a broader industrial partnership to win. Canada extracted a stronger deal because the competition was real. That's what I call a sophisticated procurement.
And this is what matters at home as well. Under Canada's industrial benefits policy, the winning contractor has to generate economic activity in Canada equal to the contract's value. Whoa. TKMS has already announced partnerships with major Canadian companies, and this is where the job story becomes real.
Yeah, Seaspan will get the long-term maintenance work, building a Canadian-led submarine maintenance system on both coasts. CAE handles the training systems. CAE is one of the world's leading simulation and training companies. Marmon in Quebec handles manufacturing. Canadian steel producers are embedded in the supply chain. Dalhousie University partners for marine and Arctic research.
And then there's E3 Lithium in Alberta. TKMS has committed to research, technology transfer, and potential investment connecting Canada's critical minerals directly to German and Allied defense supply chains. That's an industrial bridge between Alberta's lithium and Germany's defense manufacturing, and it goes well beyond submarine.
Yes. Now, we also have to remember there's something that really changes the long-term picture here. Canada was admitted as the first non-European country to the EU SAFE initiative. That's a €150 billion European program to finance joint defense purchases. Canadian companies don't just get to build submarines. They now have access to European-funded contracts right across the alliance. Prime Minister Carney is turning this procurement into an export platform. Defense spending becomes industrial investment.
And don't forget, Canada was also admitted into Eurovision for the first time. So, we're actually creating more closer ties with Europe every single day.
Yeah. So Prime Minister Carney is walking into Ankara carrying a lot because the submarine deal is significant on its own, but it's also the opening move in a much larger pitch.
As we talked about in yesterday's video, Carney arrived at the NATO Summit with a proposal to establish a Defense, Security, and Resilience Bank, an international institution designed to raise up to $100 billion in lower-cost financing for defense factories, suppliers, and infrastructure across the alliance. And the problem this bank is designed to solve is real.
Yeah, NATO governments have all committed to spending more on defense, right? The political will is there, but the factories that actually build the equipment, they can't keep pace. They don't have the capital to expand production fast enough. The demand is there, the financing isn't. Carney's bank borrows at favorable rates, backed by stable economies, and routes that capital directly to the companies that need it across the alliance.
Germany is central to whether this works or not, because Germany's economy, its borrowing reputation, its defense industry, all of that would dramatically strengthen the bank's credibility. Berlin has been in the room as an observer, but it hadn't committed before the summit.
Now think about it. Carney walks in having just selected a German company for Canada's largest defense contract ever, having embedded Canadian industry into the German supply chain, having demonstrated that Canada backs its commitments with real decisions and real money. That's earned leverage. And that changes the negotiation.
And a detail that often gets overlooked is no American company competed for Canada's submarine contract. Not because they were excluded, but because the United States no longer builds the kind of conventional submarine Canada needed. The U.S. builds nuclear-powered submarines for its own Navy's requirements, not the diesel-electric systems that Canada is looking for.
So Canada made a $100 billion defense decision, and Washington wasn't even at the table. For the first time in a long time, Canada made a major military commitment without the default American partnership, without leverage being applied from the South, and without political conditions attached.
Prime Minister Carney has been direct about wanting to build relationships so Washington is not the only available door for Canada's security needs. This procurement is evidence that other doors now exist, and Canada is walking right on through them.
And the Arctic piece here is also really fundamental. The Northwest Passage is becoming more navigable as the ice retreats. So Russia and China, they're both building serious Arctic presence. Canada has the longest Arctic coastline of any nation on Earth. 12 modern submarines patrolling those waters doesn't just change Canada's defense capability, it changes how seriously the world takes Canada's territorial claims in the north. Sovereignty requires the ability to enforce it.
So let's put this together. Canada signed on to the largest military procurement in its history. It chose Germany and Europe over South Korea and the Indo-Pacific as its primary security partnership. It became the first non-European country inside the EU defense financing program, and it arrived at NATO with a proposal for a $100 billion defense bank using the submarine deal to prove that it means business.
Now, that's not just a procurement announcement, people. That is Canada resetting its position in the Western Alliance. It's Canada saying to Europe, we are serious partners. We're making serious commitments, and we're building this relationship on our own terms. The real test will be delivery. 2034 for the first 4 submarines. Final contract by 2027. And we'll be watching every single step because this is important for Canadian sovereignty.
And we want to hear from you. Do you think that Prime Minister Carney made the right choice choosing Germany over South Korea?
And do you think this decision will actually help him get commitments for the defense bank?
Drop your thoughts in the comments below because we love hearing from you.
And make sure to give this a like, a hype, and a share so other people can weigh in as well.
Thanks for watching, everybody, and we shall see you tomorrow.
Ciao for now.